Greyhound 1 to Doghouse. We've got over a dozen hostiles. We need orders. Doghouse!
Your ROE is kill all hostiles. Do not think, just stay alive.
I'll get right on it.
Ben, I like zombies.
Yeah.
I like zombie video games.
Yeah.
Let
me tell you about a game.
I was really into. I played this game. I was really into State of Decay when it came out. I'm really into the whole concept of an open world survival game, and I was actually initially attracted to it because when I first started playing it, I was like, wow, this is more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And I just beat my head against the wall when I was playing the first game because I got to a house and zombies felt like they were spawning. Like it felt like there aren't zombies present in this world. It's not like Dead Rising, you can clear an area and then like, okay, there's no zombies around me. Like zombies kept coming out of the front door of this house. And I lost someone and then sent another person there and lost them and then threw up my hands and was just like, okay, well, I don't have anybody else. And so I guess I have to restart the game.
Right.
That, and obviously one of the complaints that people raised against the first game was that it was too glitchy. You know, that was the textures were a little muddy. I had difficulty finding weapons. I felt the rules weren't really explained that well. I had to ask people like, how do people rest and like how do those systems work? And I felt the game just kind of like threw you at the wolves. So it's back. It's exclusive to Xbox One Year One Edition.
Right.
They're cleaning it up. I think it is a game that maybe that is now in next gen will maybe be good enough as a game should have been last gen.
Right. I think a lot of the problems that you have with the game are still present. You're right. I don't think it explains things very, very, very well, but I guess I came from it from a different perspective. Were you ever into DayZ or any game like that for a period of time?
I've tried them both out. I love open world games. So
Right.
like the draw distance and the resolution, like a lot of the issues that people had with the graphics of the first game, didn't really bother me because it was functional. You know, it's like if the frame rate hiccuped a little now and then, every now and then it didn't bother me. Like I just loved the concept of playing this open world. But I remember like you start on like the eastern part of the map, and then on the western part of the map was this town, and going into that town and getting supplies and surviving and making it all the way back seemed impossible. It was like it seemed like I have so much work to do before I get to a point where I can actually do that. And I think I like queued a quest, or they signal something on the map where they're like, someone in the town needs help, you should go get them. It's like, I'm not driving into town, like I'm not gonna make it back.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, playing the PC, ever since DayZ, like PC survival zombie games have kind of been in vogue, and like no game throws you to the wolves more than DayZ. I mean, like that was a game where I felt like every 10 minutes I was like, yeah, I don't know how to do a blood transfusion. I don't know if I'm gonna figure this out.
Well, you don't have any friends in DayZ. There's no NPCs, right? It's all players.
It's
right?
all players.
Yeah.
It's all players.
So this is a huge difference that you would
This is a huge difference.
immediately find, a safe haven and you start recruiting people and can bring them back to the base.
Right. And I definitely think some of the safe haven stuff and reputation stuff is not clearly explained. I guess it's just kind of through the natural process of playing. It didn't seem too overwhelming to me, but I can totally understand where you're coming from. I think State of Decay has a lot of problems. I was just messing around with the Xbox One version. I didn't play through the whole thing, but like within the first 5 minutes of me playing the DLC, I ran into an NPC that was just running back and forth for no reason. It's like, yeah, this is a game where that sort of thing is very, very common. And one of the complaints about the Xbox 360 version is it's not a great looking game, and the frame rate is not excellent.
I mean, it is the apocalypse. If things look a little scummy, I'm okay with that.
I mean, but like just technically rough,
Right.
like the aliasing, the textures, it's just not great. The Xbox One version looks much better, but it still doesn't look that great, and the frame rate is still a little rough. But all of that aside, I think when State of Decay clicks, it's pretty awesome.
No one's exploring these concepts, which is surprising
Yeah.
because the zombie genre is so oversaturated, depending on which games you're playing. And so I I want more games to do this. And one thing that I have to give the game credit that's really cool to see is this was kind of a Cinderella story. That this was it might not have been the developer's first game. I don't remember what's the name of the developer. They have Zombie or Dead in their game. It's like Undead Labs, I think might be the name of the developer. Dead Labs or Undead Labs or something.
I just it's one of those things where I just looked it up before I did this shoot and I can't remember it. But yeah, that sounds right.
It seems whatever their name is, it seems like a group of people that are into this concept, and it's neat that they made tons of money, I'm assuming, off of the first State of Decay, and it's cool that they're sticking with this game, that they're going back and they're realizing like this game doesn't look as good as we wanted to, doesn't perform as well as we wanted to, and so we're going to take advantage of next-gen console, and hopefully it will come to other consoles. Do you think it'll come to the PS4 or maybe a PC version?
So the PC version did eventually come for the original State of Decay.
Right.
Right now, they're only talking about the Year One Survival Edition is the name of this thing that includes both DLCs and it looks better. That is only on the Xbox One for right now. I don't know if it will remain that way. If it's a timed thing, we'll have to see. I know it got a pretty decent following on PC. So
is the DLC endgame stuff? So you have to like play through stuff to get to the DLC at the end, or does it add more stuff?
So the DLC is pretty cool. The first one is called Breakdown, and it is not really story DLC. Like the characters kind of talk to each other and that are from the main game. But what it is it's sort of just open survival where you unlock characters and you start with just a random character with random strengths and weaknesses, and as you play you get more and more characters. And there are sort of 6 tiers, and each time you progress in a tier, it gets more difficult. And the way you progress in a tier is an RV randomly spawns in the map. You have to find the RV, get it, and go out. And then you progress to like sort of the next.
So it's a totally separate mode.
It's basically. Okay. But it's definitely State of Decay at its most open-ended and sandboxy, whereas Lifeline, the second DLC, takes place during the events of the main game, but it tells it from the military perspective. Oh. And I'm always a fan of that.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through all of Lifeline, but I think it just immediately has a different tone because you're playing as soldiers. You're a lot more capable from the get-go.
Yeah, hopefully.
And exactly. And that's cool. It reminds me a lot of Opposing Forces from Half-Life.
Okay.
If you remember that.
Well, the 2 DLCs, we just got another one this week for Evil Within. It does kind of the same thing.
Right, exactly.
You see the events, this nightmare from the perspective of another character. And
right.
It puts all the pieces together.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to do it. I think playing as the military in zombie games, like it's something that I've seen DLC do before, but I still think it's an interesting perspective. And yeah, I guess I forgot how much I liked State of Decay. I know you don't feel the same way about it, but
well, it just made me frustrated, and it made me frustrated. It's interesting because it's kind of like a movie. It's like you see a bad movie and you're like, whatever. But if you see a movie that you really like, you really wanted to like, and it's bad,
right.
you tend to gripe about that more because you have so many expectations and there's so many things that you want to change about it.
Right.
And I think I was so aggressive about rage quitting that game because I was so not only obsessed with zombie games and open world games, but just the whole concept I loved. It's just like, yes, I want like an iPhone game that's the same thing where I have like a little fort. I wanted Fortnite to be that. And I'm actually kind of disappointed that Fortnite's gone the kind of comedy, cartoony Team Fortress route.
Right.
Because the initial thing looked like, it did look a little cartoony, but it looked like Fort survival game, and has since gone a little too cartoony for my taste. Mm-hmm. But I really did want the concept to work.
Right.
So should I give it a second chance? Should we stream it? Should I stream it next week?
I think streaming it would actually be really fun, and you could see some of maybe the better aspects of it.
Okay.
And I guess there are a lot of zombie games out there, but I feel like this is carving its own specific niche.
Definitely.
And something like, not to keep bringing this up, but to go back to DayZ, where it just sort of dumps you in a world, and you're kind of making your own stories, and it is nothing but a pure sandbox. Whereas you have something like Dying Light or Dead Island, where it is more open worldy. You can kind of go where you want to, but you have this very strong narrative. The thing about like Dead Island for me is you sort of reach this point where it's kind of just ridiculous. You have your giant electric sledgehammer, and the zombies, they just throw more things at you. In State of Decay, I sort of feel like it's somewhere in between, where it has a story to it. Things are happening to these characters, despite the fact that if you die as somebody, you have to play as somebody else. Like, there's kind of a through line there. You are going through this journey with them. There's this center that DayZ doesn't have. But at the same time, it's always a struggle. Like, things could go bad at any moment that grounds it in a way that Dead Island isn't. And I think it's more approachable than a lot of the hardcore. Like, it's more approachable than Stalker. It's more approachable than DayZ or Rust. Like, I don't know. It just it carves out its own place in a really cool way.
So, did you play this for this episode of Just Played, where you were like, I'm gonna play that no matter what? Was this a work assignment for you, or are you finished with your campaign? Are you gonna play the whole game again?
You know, I played it. I didn't play any of the DLC. I played it on Xbox 360 and had a really good time. And I thought, like, this is a game I will never go back to. But on Xbox One, I was having such a good time, and I haven't played the DLC. I'm a little busy with reviews at the moment, but once things open up, maybe after E3, this is definitely a game I want to revisit too. It was one of those things, you know, sometimes we get assigned things. We're like, okay, yeah, we'll play it. We'll talk about it. It'll be cool. This was definitely one of those games that caught me off guard. I had forgot how much I liked it, you know. And Brandon Jones, I love the idea of streaming it with you. I think it would be a lot of
you're gonna
fun.
have my back, man.
Yeah,
like when I get to places, I'm not gonna consult the instruction manual of the internet. I'm gonna consult
Right,
Ben Moore and be like,
definitely.
Ben, what am I doing?
Definitely.
How does this work? Thank you for having my back, and thank you for checking the game out.
Yeah, thank you.